Hello and welcome to Global Morning. What a beautiful Sunday it is here in the FCT, Abuja, Nigeria. I want to welcome you to this beautiful Sunday. I am Anita Patrick, and of course, I will be doing this alone because, as always, I have my co-anchor with me in the studio in the person of Mukhtar Kasim.
Hello, good morning, Anita. It's a beautiful Sunday, like you rightly said. The weather is calm and I believe it's going to be a great day today.
Of course, it's going to be a great day. And we have a whole lot of things lined up, as always.
Of course, we've got a lot of discussions. We've got taste and texture. We've got the newspaper review where we bring to our audience all of those big stories that are making the rounds on our dailies. And of course, the discussions are always going to be timely. So if I was you, I'll stick and not change anywhere.
I'm telling you, if you want to stay on track with us because we have a whole lot lined up for you, you need to stay on track because we have timely discussion that we want to bring to the front burner. Of course, we want to also hear your thoughts through sending us through our social media handles. Of course, we always pick that to know how you feel and think about these issues. But it's of course something we cannot do away with, but talk about it. It's Global Morning, but let's also tell you that we're going to start quickly with the front page covers, stories making the rounds on the dailies. Please stay with us as we quickly pick up these dailies and find out what it is about. Stay with us.
Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
It's good to have you join us back on Global Morning. Like we said, we're going to start with the front page covers, see what stories are making the rounds. And of course, we have a lineup of papers here, the Vanguard, the Punch, the Daily Independent. We also have the Guardian, Daily Trust as well, and all of that lined up for you. But let's quickly start our focus today with the Sunday Vanguard newspaper. The Sunday Vanguard newspaper has own lead story, which comes in very boldly written here. It says, alleged terror, financial shocker in Lagos. Arrest, and then we have a writer that comes with it that talks about suspect is a deeply religious mom, worships at Agege mosque, minds his business. That's neighbors speaking there, and that story is on page 2 of the Sunday Vanguard newspaper. This is a whole lot to take in, Mukhtar, following the trend of insecurity in the country. Though this is alleged, actually.
Yes,
but
it's actually a disturbing one, and it's a shocker. And one thing is, you might see people, they claim to be religious, but then religion is not by lip service, it's by how you treat other people. And of course, so this is not a good one, but the fact that the authorities are already swooping in to make sure that this doesn't happen again, like they've always told us. And that's our hope, and we just hope that it's something that we don't see on our paper, on our dailies, because it's not a pleasant headline. It's not a good one for Nigeria. Nigeria has a lot of terror already we're dealing with. We don't want that number to pile up. So this is one that's not really pleasant.
I'm just looking at the thought of the neighbor who's revealing this, because the neighbor will be like, this is somebody I've known for years.
He doesn't talk much.
Doesn't talk
do
much. He doesn't. So that's why I always say, know your neighbor.
Very important.
Very important.
And many of us neglect that fact. I'm not like, even I am guilty. Some of my neighbors, I talk to you. I'm not going to lie to you.
You wake up early, you mind your business,
and then you come back late at night, and that's the cycle we all repeat, rinse and repeat every
But
time.
this is actually a lesson for us to actually start paying attention.
Be very vanguard and vigilant about your environment.
I'm telling you.
Most definitely.
Well, that's it on that particular story. Let's take other stories.
Let's go below that particular story and see a story here that says, it's a question. It says, where is the 144 billion naira voted to protect school children? And it has a rider that says, a Senate probe of Safe Schools initiative lingers amidst kidnapping spree. Another rider says, how police, others got 15 billion naira. And that's the coordinator speaking, and details is on page 10. This is a very important question, Anita, because if we spend as much as 144 billion to protect school children and we still have incidences of school kidnapping, that's actually something that should be probed, because we can't keep putting in funds that we don't really have. Nigeria has been borrowing, we're even borrowing from United Arab Emirates, and all of this are supposed to be part of developing the country and guaranteeing security, but we're still having incidences of kidnapping and all of that amidst all this huge chunk of money being spent. So that's a question that I think is begging for answers.
But I like the fact that accountability is being asked here.
Yes.
We're asking where this is because, of course, there's a safe school initiative which is supposed to actually come to play. But right now, there's a whole lot of questions around that.
Of course.
And hopefully that the authorities in charge would
give us answers to these questions
in the long run. But let's also tell you other stories making the rounds as well. We also have, just beside that story, it says 2027, Tinubu's plans to sweep Southeast. That's in regards to the elections coming up in 2027, and that story is on page 27 of the Sunday Vanguard newspaper.
I'd like to return you back to that particular story, but just below it, the one we talked about, 144. It says, State Police warning, dangerous to leave Commissioner's appointment in Governor's hand. And that's an SAN speaking. We all know that the State Police, the National Assembly has, of course, is looking into it and is looking to pass that and to make it an act, a law that would give those governors, State Police. And people are asking, what are the measures? Pros and cons? What are the measures to make sure that we don't see it getting abused? So this is another question here, and we just hope that State Police is already here, so let's make the best out of it, basically.
The good thing is there's a lot of questions being asked in terms of safety measures and ensuring that
check and balances.
Yes, check and balances. So Nigerians are no longer just folding their arms and just watching. They're actually asking, probing here and there to ensure that it gets the right results at this particular time, because there's a whole lot of pain that people have felt losing their loved ones. But let's also move away from that and tell you other stories making it round. We have the story just beside that on the left hand corner there. It talks about courts ruling. Today it's NDC, tomorrow it could be anyone party. One story on page 4, that's talking about the NDC's the registration process and the drama happening around them with the build up to 2027 general election. This is actually a cause for concern for the NDC.
Yes, even though of course they've appealed that particular judgment, and the INEC is saying we've not had a certified true copy, so we cannot work on that judgment. So it's been a back and forth ahead of 2027, but of course, like we've always clamored, we should have a healthy democracy that allows oppositions to thrive. Let's go, and if you are popular as a president or as whoever it is you are, let the ballot tell the tale, not you trying to quash opposition. It's not a good one for democracy.
But that will show up in 2027. We'll see how that plays out in the long run. But let's also go the nameplate.
Of course, by the left-hand corner, a bit of international story here. It says how U.S. strikes. Okay, actually Nigerian center story. It says how U.S. strikes saved Nigerian Christians, and that is Donald Trump speaking. And you find details on page 4 of the Sunday Vanguard newspaper.
And just beside that, it says 72 hours to spiritual warfare. Oba of Benin mobilizes against terrorists, and that story is on page 3 of the Vanguard
And below
newspaper.
that particular story here, it says xenophobia, MTN chairman's attack on South Africa goes viral, and details you find on page 5.
Well, that's the much we can take on that particular paper, and that's given us a whole lot of things to look at and also pay attention and look forward to seeing more solutions
Most definitely.
brought to Nigerian people. And let's move on to our next paper, which is the Weekend Trust newspaper.
And of course, the Weekend Trust newspaper has a totally different set of stories. It starts with the big story here, says Kaduna mob action puts police on the spot. Details you find on page 4. This is obviously the one that has dominated headlines in the past week, and it's not really a pleasant one, but we'll not dwell too much on it. Anita, what do you think?
It's time to hear some good news more.
Of course,
Thanks, Chair. So let's look at other stories also. We have that story below that particular lead story. It says, power banks to the rescue. We pay 300 naira to charge our phones, and that story is on page 18.
I think we all can relate to the fact that power bank has been saving lives for a long time with the epileptic power supply in Nigeria.
So that's our what's it called? Now, movable power source.
Everyone has one, almost everyone has a copy, and even people that you wouldn't expect to have in government places have been seeing with power banks. And that shows you how.
If you want to stay in track for one to reach out to you,
need a backup. Let's move away from that story and show you above the mass story, the big story, by the left-hand corner. It says State Police will take us back to the 60s, and that is retired CP Singam. And that particular story, you find details on page 13 of the Weekend Trust newspaper.
So, anyway, everyone's entitled to
exactly. I was going to say different strokes for different folks. This is his own opinion. He thinks that will take us back to the 60s. Other people are saying this is the solution to our insecurity problem. So,
anyway, security is everyone's business, and we need this intelligence gathering from the community to the security operatives. Grassroots is the major, and who's closer to them than the police
people.
And the people. So they have the relationship to build up, and that means everyone has to open up and talk about every crime, everything you see. You need to say and report the right sources. But like we said, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm sure he has his reasons when we pick up to read in depth on what.
And of course, people have also said that for you to have an effective police, in their opinion, you need to have locals involved, which means now if we have an Anambra State Police, people from Anambra who know the terrain would be the people, rather than people coming from other places that might not be familiar with the terrain. Yes.
All right. So let's move away from that and look at some political stories making around as well. It says 2027 will Obi Kwankwaso be on the ballot? Story on page 20. That's a question being asked following the...
A very, very pertinent question, following, of course, the judgment of that court.
Yes.
We hope to see everybody who's eligible to be on the ballot. So we have a variety of choice as Nigerian electorates. And away from that story, by the right-hand corner, it says UCH, a 69-year-old hospital living in its shadows. Details you find on page 10 of the Weekend Trust newspaper.
Well, that's one story talking about the health sector, how that is spanning out. Well, you know, the one thing with the Weekend Trust always has infographics, and there's a display of this infographics. We have something that looks around 7 years of sterling performance, looking at what impact it has brought in as well. Series of 151 out of 1,500 plus projects, and that is on page 6 as well. And beside that, you also see governance, empowerment, and poverty alleviation display, talking about the impacts
of the Borno State governor. This is 7 years in office at the moment.
No, this is actually, I actually pick this is actually very heartwarming to see, because Borno has had his own share of the insecurity and how it has affected the community, the people, those living in where they're not supposed to live, living their ancestral homes, and
displaced.
then, displaced. So, but today we have the governor is also looking at the way of rebuilding the place and giving hope to the communities that life, there's still hope.
Life continues.
As
long as you are alive, there's
still
message.
Hope, and there's still light at the end of the tunnel. You don't just have to give up, no matter what it looks like for you. But that's with that particular story. Let's quickly turn our focus and look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper has its own story coming up also with the build-up to the 2027 general election. The Nation newspaper, it says INEC to review NDC judgment. awaits CTC. That's what we talked about in the other paper earlier, that there's a whole lot to look up to for in terms of the ballots.
2027.
2027. Well, that story. And we also have a writer that says, I was jotted by court order. Dixon speaking there. Atiku also speaking. Atiku ADC raised concerns over decision. And all of that story is on the front page cover and continues on page 4 of the Nation newspaper.
Now let's move above the nameplate to the left-hand corner, where a story here says, Xenophobia, FG processing new flight to evacuate Nigerians in South Africa. And it's got 2 riders. The first one here says, anxiety mount ahead 30 June anti-immigration protest. And another one here says, insight from appetite to Bam Habe. And all of the stories you find on pages 10 and 19 of the Nation's newspaper, talking about the xenophobic attack over there in South Africa. And of course, the federal government, we know, have been repatriating citizens, but they're still doing more, and more people hope to come back to the country. But the question now is, when they come back, what is their fate? Because I've been wondering, they have already established businesses in South Africa, and they've built their lives there, and then they are displaced due to this very sad incident here.
Well, it's actually a very sad one. That's one of the reasons why Africans are calling for Africans to see each other as brothers. And not, if you have foreigners coming to your country, it's a privilege that you have people wanting to come and stay in your place. So it is that time we start speaking love and unity amongst ourselves, so people don't lose their livelihoods, people don't lose the fact that you're supposed to be hospitable, because when you go see your brother, you should expect love and not pain. But we hope that the federal government will find a way of cushioning this effects on the people who come back, coming back and have a safe landing and have their life back on track. But let's quickly look at the right hand corner of the Nation newspaper. It has its own story there. It says, kidnapped, starved, ransomed. 5 survivors recall 24 hours in Ogun forest. And we have a writer that says, how Lagos Ogun police teams rescued them, killed 4 kidnappers. Story on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. The good thing about the insecurity is the fact that we've seen some side stories that we're getting rescue mission, and we're getting to hear that the kidnappers are also apprehended. It's no longer we rescued them, nobody to hold accountable for the crime. It's good that we're seeing such accountability come out to say that.
Very important.
It gives support and closure to people who had these encounters, and it gives them an edge to know that the security operators are doing their job and their safety, even if when you get trapped in this kind of situation. So we want to say kudos to the security operatives for this.
And of course, they should double their efforts. And making sure the other ones are in captivity are released too.
Yes, as well. So that story, that's it on that story, ends on page 5, like I said. Let's quickly look below other stories there. Still the same story around what's happening in Brno. That's it, and renewing the mindset for Brno residents. Well done to the governor. Let's move away from that particular paper and tell you other stories making the round. This time around, it's with the Sunday Sun newspaper. The Sunday Sun newspaper has this lead story also with the build up to the 2027 general election, and it says endless lawsuits tie opposition parties hands. And of course, we have a writer that says 6 months to polls, courtroom battles. We also have leadership wars, keep PDP, NDC, ADC, Labour Party in turmoil. We also have ADC condemns court order against NDC, alleges assault on democracy. All of that is contained on pages 17 and 26 of the Sunday Sun. And
of course, below that story is a story we've seen in previous papers, but we'll still take it. It says, State Police, sparks fly over execution orders, and it has a host of riders. The first one says, battle moves to state assemblies, security experts list conditions for successful takeoff. Senator speaks on governor's powers, funding federal oversight orders, and all of the stories you find on pages 5, 18 and 19 of the Sunday Sun newspaper.
Well, there's a whole lot of story to that state police. We just hope that in the long run we get the essence of it being fulfilled and people will find succor in the long run.
Most definitely.
So all of this. But let's look at the story there just by the right-hand corner above the nameplates there where it talks about Obi Kwankwaso, why Igbo Hausa Alliance will benefit Nigeria more. And they have the writer that says Nwogo Kanu industrialist speaking, story on page 66. Well, this is actually his opinion, but I think we've gone past as a nation. We'll look at ethnics, religion, and all of that.
Nigeria
just focus on Nigeria as a nation,
is the focus.
And let's get it fixed.
Most definitely.
That's what Nigerians are looking forward to.
And away from that story, let's move to Benue State. He says Governor Alia condemns killing of MACBAN chairman. And details on page 27 on the Sunday Sun newspaper.
Well, just beside that as well, we have the story that says Lagos Ogun police kill 4 kidnappers, rescue 5 victims, and we have the writer that says 84 others nabbed as police launch operation Kosayi. That story is on page 20. That's also the lead up to the last story we saw,
yes,
where we're seeing closure and we're seeing rescue mission coming to place as well. Well, beside that, we have another story there that talks about. It
says deaths kneel for apprenticeship as potential trainees shun artisan vocation, and one here says auto technicians, bricklayers, tailors lament. With the young people now, some of them don't really want to go into those trades that before now we've seen that it was a norm, and it's one that I don't think is a pleasant one, because some of them, of the young people I'm talking about, they turn to other crafts that's not really very commendable. So we just hope to see a revival of this. Of course, education is of course very paramount. If you're learning a craft, which is fine, also try to balance it with an education.
Well, there's a whole lot to these days. You can't just fold your arms and just sit. If you don't want to do the artisanal vocational training and all that, turn to the new media, which has given you room for what's it called, content creation and all that. Gives an edge to make money from home. You can make your money, but in a legal way, where you're also doing a lot of things that has to do with that particular.
But you know, not all of us are tech savvy, and not everyone can.
I'm just saying for those who are tech savvy, who wants to build up, who wants to look away from this vocational skills, because for those who even do the vocational skills, they still use the new media to showcase their business.
Exactly, it's a very big economy.
It's a dual access to having, plus to whatever you have as a person.
True.
So it's a plus to them as well. So that's it with that particular paper. Let's quickly turn our focus and see Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper has its own lead story that still talks about 2027 general election. The lead story there says funding delay raises fears. That's election is expensive in Nigeria, and that story is on page 3, of course.
And of course, it has a host of riders. The first one says ADC, PDP, fear polls preparation may suffer. And the second one here says Tinubu will release funds. APC insists. And the third one says election preparations remain on track. And that is INEC speaking. And away from that story, let's see by the left-hand corner, it says FG plotting to stop my presidential bid, says OB. And below that, very unpleasant international story says Venezuela earthquake death toll rises to 1,430. Details you find on page 5 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, so let's go below that story as well. We have other stories making the rounds, or rather, it says Abia arrests 109-year-old Akarasela over
sanitation offense.
It's I don't know if I should laugh about it, but it's not funny at all.
It's not even funny, to be honest. First of all, why is she on the street at that age? Why is the government of Abia State not taking care of her welfare at that age? Even though, of course, we know she has an immediate family, but as the government, the thing, what you think to do is to arrest a 109-year-old woman.
What are you going to do with him or she? I'm just thinking of where's the strength? What are you going to?
Honestly,
what is she going to start sweeping?
This is like
streets
honestly, it's not even funny at this point. But the Abia State government, I don't want to use derogatory words.
Okay, let's get that.
It's very upsetting.
Okay, so let's go to the next story beside that. It says, under siege, Lekki hoodlums brazenly attack motorists, demand settlement. Story on page 22 and page 23 as well.
And a very sad story also, by the right-hand corner, it says, one woman killed every 49 hours by intimate partner. Details on page 27.
Well, we have that story making rounds, but this is actually reports and talking about this whole thing. But we also have the other way around as well. If you talk about intimate partners having all these things, male and female. So yes. I think it's time to work on our psychology as humans.
There's no force. If the relationship is not working, the best is to quit than to lose your life in it.
I saw a trending story on the socials as well that had to do with partners, a young 18-year-old girl and a partner was abusing her, but she didn't want the security officers to also take him away. That has to do with psychology as well.
I also saw one where a man actually was being beaten by his wife, and then an advocate swooped into the matter. And what did he tell him? He said, stay out of family matter.
Okay. So I think we need to build up our mindset and look at it. But let's go above the nameplates there. The story there talks about inside Lagos home linked to blacklisted ISIS financiers as well. That story is on page 7 of the Sunday Punch newspaper.
And by the right-hand corner here, it says, Northern Khan bishops reject Trump's boast of ending Christian genocide. Details on page 15 of the Sunday Punch newspaper.
Well, and lastly on the bottom plate there says fresh minimum wage talks to begin soon. NLC speaking there. Okay, so that gives us a wrap on that particular paper. Let's turn our focus quickly to our last paper for today. The Guardian newspaper, the Guardian Weekend, has a lead story. And of course, we have the infographics also displayed and talking about what this looks like. Underage labor thrives on farm despite Child Rights Act. And of course, we know we see that a lot.
It's something that's concerning, but
survival is also that thing that we are looking forward to seeing what should come in and what should play out in most cases.
Exactly.
We always get that play out. Of course, the infographics here talks about childhood is for learning, not labor.
Not for labor.
And then we have it says behind every harvest, loss is a child's stolen future. And we have another where it shows the child in the farm boy is also thinking of the classroom. Wanting to be in the classroom space, but he doesn't have a choice. He's in the farm there, trying to survive with his parents. Survival comes in. And also have where it says child labor in agriculture in Nigeria, one of the least visible forms of exploitation affecting millions of children, of course.
Most definitely, we hope to see all of those children go back to school, because we know the federal government has an initiative, which is the Back to School initiative, that tries to bring the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria to a barest minimum, basically. And away from that story, let's just go below it. Here it says, experts seek nationwide school screening, early detention to tackle scholastics, and that is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And by the right hand corner, another story here says ICPC pushes anti-corruption education in legal curriculum against ethical violation, and details you find on page 26 of the Guardian Weekend.
Well, a lot of stories making around there. We'll see, still sticking with the infographics, there's a whole lot of breakdown to what's happening as well. But let's also quickly wrap this up with where it says Tinubu unveils tech-driven offensive against drug traffickers, hails NDLEA's global successes. We also have writing that says agency busts drug rings with 480 billion naira, arrests 29,262 suspects in 8 months. Sources secures 5,225 convictions there.
That's a very commendable one in Nigeria's fight against drug abuse. But away from that to Lagos, it says Sanwo-Olu orders demolition of distressed houses around Alakija collapsed building. Details on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper.
Well, and that's the much we can take on the Guardian newspaper. A whole lot of stories making the rounds where you need to pick up a copy of the dailies, like we've told you, and get all the stories making the rounds and get yourself informed. So when you're having conversations around friends, peer pressure, colleagues, you'll be left behind. You understand what is happening around you, and of course you'll be informed on decisions happening. Okay, well, that's the size on the front page cover of the dailies. We'll quickly just take what we have for you on Taste and Texture, Mukhtar, and that will also ushers into our
First
discussion segments where our guest is standing by already. Of course, it's one conversation you cannot afford to miss. Please stay with us.
Hello everyone and welcome to Taste and Texture. Today we are going to be preparing boiled plantain and egg sauce. For the boiled plantain, we'll be needing the following: ripe fresh plantain, knife and clean pot, water. Here is the process of preparing boiled plantain. Wash and cut or dice your fresh ripe plantain into few pieces. In a clean pot, add your diced and washed ripe plantains. Add water, salt and cover to cook for a few minutes. Drop and drain the water, and then after a few minutes peel the boiled plantain and set aside. For the egg sauce, we will be needing a few fresh pieces of raw eggs. In a clean bowl, break your raw eggs and whisk. Get your clean frying pan and add oil to fry. Add your pepper, mix and stir for a few minutes. Then add Maggi and other seasoning of your choice. Then stir and add corned beef. Optional. Also stir your already whisked eggs and finally add parsley and stir it. Our boiled plantain and egg sauce is ready. And that's it on this episode of the show. I hope you will try this recipe at home. Join me again on Taste and Texture next time. I am Sadia Yakubu. See you again.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
At Erojim Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. Located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear. All crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Erojim Shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
It's good to have you join us back on Global Morning. Of course, it's a good time to turn our conversation to look at what this discussion segment is about, because we told you you couldn't afford to miss it. We've served you breakfast, plantain there, so it's time for you to relax and enjoy this conversation. I'm still here, and of course, I'm Anita Patrick. Let's give you this guide to our discussion. Nigeria's social fabric is once again under the spotlight following the release of the 2026 Nigeria Social Cohesion Survey by the African Polling Institute. While the report shows a modest improvement in the country's social cohesion index to 48.8%, Nigeria still falls below the acceptable threshold, raising serious questions about governance, public trust, and the effectiveness of policies designed to unite the nation. Mukhtar.
And of course, I am still here, and the conversation is one that is very important. And that report has revealed that while Nigerians continue to show resilience and willingness to work together across ethnic and religious lines, confidence in government institutions is something that's alarmingly low, Anita.
Yeah, truly, because we have citizens place greater trust in religious and traditional leaders than in elected institutions, with only 28% expressing trust in the federal government and just 23% in the National Assembly. Well, this morning here in Nigeria, we asked the question, are weak policy or public policies undermining Nigeria's social cohesion? And what a way to unpack all of this and to help us understand the implications of these findings and what governments can do differently. We'll be joined by a developmental expert who understands this conversation and wants to see how Nigeria can build and get better and see how policies can be put in place to give us the best. He's also the Chief Executive Officer of Akpeya TV, in person of Mr. Odudego Okenyodo. It's good to have you join us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Amazing to have you. I've listened to you in several forums and listened to your passion and how you want to see the nation go beyond weak policies and tracking us to get it on track. Let's start on the basics of when the Institute's reports, because that's one platform that's given headway or talked about issues. The African Polling Institute says Nigeria's social cohesion index stands at 48.8%, still low, below the average benchmark, despite improvements across every field or despite contributions from the authorities. How would you assess Nigeria's assets in terms of current level of social cohesion, and what does this score tell us about Nigeria as a nation with a build-up to 2027?
Thank you. First, I usually say countries are not the same. So I'm not a very big fan of below standards, right? However, what can we do as a people that would have made us more socially cohesive? We're people that love one another. In every space we go to, Nigerians are interacting together, you know. But we've got policies, what I would call narrative infrastructure. So I said Nigeria's challenge usually is about infrastructure, but it's not just the physical infrastructure. So roads would better link us together, right? Unity schools would better link us together. NYSC would have brought us more together. Yes, but what is our narrative infrastructure? The stories we tell each other and the means of telling each other those stories. First one is education. So right now you've got a society that is becoming stratified based on the rich
Getting richer?
Against the poor. The poor children go to school with only poor children. Rich children go to school with only rich children. So our educational policy is one place where we have the first big weakness.
Okay.
Because that's where you are indoctrinating a child right from the outset that I can interact. Growing up, I have people now who are maybe governors, House of Reps members, but the next generation we are creating are not going to have that.
True.
They're going to be, fellow poor people,
all the same servants.
The class comes to play out.
The class comes to play out, and that is where already, like the software we're installing in the child.
Okay.
Right, and while I'm talking about it now, we have started installing this in the past like 20 years already. By the time we started consciously decaying the public education system, primary schools are terrible, in very bad shape, then it's only children of the poor that remain there. And then if you've got the money, you send your child to private schools, and then more money you send abroad, right? So those are where we started getting it wrong. The narratives were given to the child directly or indirectly, and those are the things that have fed into the current generation, giving us what we have. And then the one I'm very passionate about, the narrative from the mass media and social media, which is how are we treating journalism? How are we treating communications people? We treat comms people essentially as afterthoughts.
Very true.
Right? Even if it's projects, even if it's government, you go make all the decisions, then you say, where are the journalists, or where is our PRO? Let him tell them this. So essentially, we believe that we have to lie to the people. Now, for those of us in development communication, we think differently. We think that communication should be bottom up. It's what people want to say and want to do that should be the content of what you do as a government.
True.
So our policies are not speaking to the desires of the people. This is the broad thing that leads to all the other insecurity, tribalism, that accentuate lack of social cohesion. What are we telling ourselves? What are we?
It's also selling to the people.
Selling to the people. And how are we treating those who bring that knowledge to the people? How are we treating the teachers? Right? A teacher is being paid 30,000 till this day in Abuja.
True.
And this is a place where even just at a sitting, people spend 100,000. Now, if you are telling a child to be conscientious, to have integrity, to live together with the next man and treat the next man as equal, what are they seeing in the person that teaches them? Who is coming to school without a car, without an umbrella, we're hungry, without the comforts of life? What are they seeing when they interact with the journalists every day, right? Why is a journalist reduced to a brown envelope? Right? Because there's a policy disconnect somewhere. And it's not even a mistake.
It's intentional.
Deliberate, yes, they are deliberate, because if I can impoverish you mentally and even financially, then I can control you.
Sure.
Okay, so I like the way that you set the tone, and it has a whole lot.
Yes, the background is very important.
Yes.
And another thing about this particular survey is that it shows only 28% of Nigerians have trust in the federal government, while the National Assembly got only 23%. Now, what factors do you think have contributed to this trust deficit? Because it's a wide trust deficit. What are those factors?
Yeah, it builds from what we've said, right? Where you're having people saying one thing and doing a different thing.
Very true.
Right? They say to the media or to their press secretary, just tell them this, right? Just say you're sorry. A situation just happened in Benue State 2 days ago. A person was killed. Now, for so many years, people have been killed. The governor says nothing. Literally nothing. It doesn't. At best, he says it's mild skirmishes.
That's a human life.
That's a human life. Yeah, and the people are killed in the hundreds, and the governor says there's no conflict. It's just mild skirmishes, and then one person, a leader of a group, has been killed, and the governor issues a lot of press statement and orders that the killings will be investigated and this will be done. And people are saying, how will I trust this man if we are being killed several times? You say nothing, you don't even visit the sites in Agatu, in Otupo, in several of the places. So that disconnect between what the government says, what the National Assembly says, and what they do in practice. You want to pass a law, the law that was passed recently, the constitutional amendment to bring in the state police. You bring in materials that should be going into law, and you say, let's pass it in pages. You just say pages 1 to 10, pages this, pages that.
And then people don't understand what the pages say, or the context of that.
And people are seeing you live on TV. How do you tell us that you actually have our interest at heart? And so those are the disconnect. Like I keep saying, the narrative. The narrative, between the narrative and what is done in practice, there is a big disconnect. And we must change from there.
Okay, so I like the fact that the narrative is a concern. This is where we're looking at all of these things.
Yeah.
And just like you mentioned, the National Assembly, when it comes to constitutional amendments, all of those cases being raised. Interesting, Nigerians are now turning their focus to the traditional rulers and leaders, or religious leaders who they see on a daily, they can walk to and express their concerns. What lessons should policymakers learn from this new trend of thing? Do you think they need to rebuild that trust system because there's a break, there's a gap right now?
Yes, there's a need to rebuild the trust system, and that rebuilding also should begin with, again, how do you appoint these people? Most of the traditional rulers and former civil servants, former military officials, who even the appointment method makes them beholden to the government. Most of the religious leaders, same. We all need land approvals in different places, so we don't want to disagree with the governor.
We want to agree
to agree. You're right. So I think from what the data is saying, people are putting their trust in the religious leaders and traditional leaders. But I feel that over time, this trust
will also be broken.
I mean, it's already, even the breakage is already manifesting, where people are calling on their religious leaders and say, when it was this so-so-so regime, you came out protesting. Now it's so-so-so regime, you are not. So actions.
So that's becoming chaotic.
It's becoming chaotic. And you see, I don't know whether we're tracking these changes. When revolutions happen in different countries, they don't happen overnight.
No, they don't.
When they happen, they seem like they're overnight. That people just got angry overnight.
No.
But it doesn't happen. There is a build-up that is happening as a result of this disconnect. If you look at what was the protest in 2012, 1st of January 2012, that protest, even though it was big, it was not as big when it was quelled. Later, when we had the EndSARS,
it was a bigger protest.
End governance is growing bigger. And so this disconnect, there's frustration that is happening on the table that we can see. But are we tracking it as a government, as a people, to say, it seems that this anger is building up. It seems that those who are also being left out by governance, in terms of dividends of democracy on the one hand, and in terms of voice on the table, they are increasing. The population of Nigeria is now 230 million. And you have about 70% of that in poverty. It doesn't sound big if you just hear 70%, but that is at least 150 million human beings.
Very true.
That's a huge number.
That are in poverty. And those 150 million human beings are bigger than if there were a country, that would be the second biggest country after Nigeria. Because, I mean, that is in Africa, right?
Yes.
You would have Nigeria, then you have Ethiopia, then you have Egypt. Those are the 230, then you have 120, 130, and then 120 in Egypt. That's the range. And now you have poor people in Nigeria, 150 million.
You know, as of the fact that we don't even know our total number as a nation, but this is just one particular estimation we're putting out.
Those estimates, there are lots of things that make you feel that those estimates are right, because there are things you correlate in terms of numbers. There are errors here and there. I mean, like if you look at vaccination rates, if you look at voters card, if you look at a number of things that globally makes the estimate a bit believable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, another issue is the fragmentation of our nation, which is something that has been on the front burner. And many people have been saying that these divisions are more about political affiliation than it is about even religion. So how can we bridge that divide?
We need more policies that bring us together. We need more openness in how we do things. The majority of this country is made up of the minorities. That is the people that are the
they're not Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba.
They are not Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba.
More than the
people who are Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. And everything we're doing now as people, you come in, you are maybe Hausa, what we don't like to say, Hausa Fulani. Which is not, there's no ethnic group called Hausa Fulani. But imagine you come in and then one regime stuffs it with their own people. Another regime comes, stuffs it with their own people. And then, so under Buhari, a lot of people said, oh, it was stuffed with Northerners. Now it's the Southwesterners. And we are having agitation for an Igbo president. And everybody believes that that's what's going to happen. But what you're doing each time is alienating the Nupe, the TV Doma, and different ethnic groups, Efik and all of that, being alienated from the center. So we need more. My former boss, Kabir Yusuf. Kabir Yusuf wrote an article in 1996 for the Citizen newspaper, and his own proposal is that all the majority ethnic group should be constitutionally, there should be an agreement that these people should be left out of the major positions. So you can't have Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba in president, Senate president, vice president, this. When you do that, you bring in the minorities to occupy those positions as a rule. Then, because they are minorities, chances are that they are not going to have a single voice or opportunity to just stuff it with their people, right? And then what you have will be the majority ethnic group in different other strategic positions, chief of defense staff, chief of army staff, different big positions. And that will then ensure that you have more voices from the fringes coming into the governance of the country. I like that position, maybe because I'm a minority, maybe a minor minority.
Okay, so I like the way that you're analyzing this, because I wanted to ask on the part of where we look at regional politics, because across, just like you said, we have the three major tribes which we recognize. But there's also regions being considered geopolitical zoning kind of thing to carry up people to ensure that there's a balance in terms of representation of voices here. And just like you mentioned, let's look at the National Assembly, for instance. When you have the majority party, for instance, who are leaders in terms, we also have the minority who have their voices due to the political representation or the political party representation. So it gives an edge to what that should stand at for people themselves. So, like you said, you like it because you feel you're on the minority. So let's look at it from the angle, before we go back to our report, let's look at it from the angle of political representation in terms of the different political parties. How has that fared well for opposition parties to have an edge as well?
I don't like political parties. I think it's a system we've just swallowed hook, line, and sinker from things that do not agree with our. We already have groupings, but we have not tried to tap into those groupings, whether they are ethnic, whether they are religious, whether they are professional groupings. Can we tap into those? Because political parties, the way we're playing it, is expensive and it's not doing the work. Political parties are just money bags, bankrolling the parties, bribing delegates, ensuring that they just hook. A party, people are not donating. They're not registering normally.
They're not paying those
membership dues. So it's just money bags. But you and I are already in one union or the other, Old Students Association, different groups. Why can't we say, if you are a certain kind of group, you can organize yourself and ensure that you have one representation or two or whatever for election? Why can't we do that? So I believe that political parties are part of the policies we have as a nation that actually is causing the lack of cohesion, social cohesion.
Okay, so let's go back to the report, because despite these challenges we've mentioned across the different sectors or boards, the report which we're talking about by the API shows encouraging signs, of course. We see that 70% or 77% of Nigeria are willing to cooperate across the ethnic lines, just like we mentioned, while 71% are ready to sacrifice personal interests and for national development. Does this suggest that citizens are ahead of governments in promoting unity? Because like you said from the start point, you said we're peace-loving people, we love ourselves. I think citizens are looking at it from the perspective of unity, growth, oneness. And you see that overshadowing because from what we see, from this standpoint as citizens, we see when you hear conversations around citizens in the build up to 2027 elections, you hear conversations around national development and comes around, can we change this narrative? Can we get so how is that playing out for us? How is that going to play out for us in 2027?
It's well, I don't know very well about 2027, but I would think that the framing of the question in terms of citizens' willingness ahead, it sounds like citizens are not already doing it. But in practice, many citizens are already cooperating across ethnic and religious lines in our daily lives, even at the political level. The politicians who, in every dispensation where there are cries about marginalization and all of that, the people who are collaborating to dip their hands in the pot of the nation and even the states are always across ethnic and religious lines.
But there seem to be an elitism, which obviously we know
we are cooperating at every point across ethnic and religious lines, even in doing evil.
Ironically, yes, that's correct.
Yes. So I think that even the framing of the question looks like we are not already doing so. Only 70-something% are willing. I think that more than 70-something% are already doing it. That's a feeling. And in 2027, what should happen? What I see that is likely to happen is that because now Nigerians are feeling the pinch across board, it's the choices that are going to be made are going to be more drastic in ways that we will not expect. 2023 was a good signal for us.
Yeah, it was actually.
People say 2023 was a terrible election, and I say, I think that's our best election so far. That's in
terms of the outcome or the process.
No, not the outcome, process. The reason we all turned out. Why did we turn out? Because Professor Yakubu's INEC, with all its imperfection, was able to assure us, give us a lot. We saw in detail what the Beavers would do, what the IRF would do. We were so sure.
Detailed.
Yes. And we came out. And what happened? In almost every level. Changes happen, surprising changes. Look at my state, Benue. That's a state where would the Reverend Father have emerged to become governor? Beating more or less an incumbent, because the incumbent governor wanted the Speaker of the House of Assembly to become governor. And the Speaker of the House of Assembly, it was almost a done deal. But the people's voices saying, yes, Father, they went out to vote. You saw losses in Lagos, where
it's a stronghold for political parties.
So, for me, 2023, the only snag that happened was in that failure at the presidential level, where all of a sudden, what the IRF that seemed to be working at the lower levels, all of a sudden didn't work at the presidential level. But that showed me that we have the whole capacity
to change
narratives and change practices. Because if people are conscientized and mobilized well enough, they are going to come out, and they are going to come out clearly to say that things cannot be business as usual. Of course, in Ekiti, what we saw in Ekiti.
I was going to ask you a question. All of the by-elections we saw incidences of vote buying and other infractions.
Yes.
So is that not a pointer to what we expect in 2027?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, in the sense that because it's one by-election, all the forces of evil converge
by-elections
towards the will of the people. But by the time it's pan-Nigeria, 36 states of the federation at the same time, you are not able to pull that massive concentration on just one state. So yes, they will have the desire to thwart the will of the people, but I don't know whether they will have the capacity to do it across 36 states at once. This is my, and again, this is just a gut feeling I have, that yes, I've seen what's happening in the different states by elections, and but those things are only signals that, okay, when is this state, you pull everybody from Katsina, from the rivers, and they all go and concentrate to go and do that in those states, right? By the time it's 36 states of the federation and the FCT, let's see whether you're going to be able to muster that kind of energy.
Now, coming back to the report, it says it recommends creating of a National Cohesion Commission, which is similar to what we have in Kenya. Would that institution make a difference in Nigeria, or should we simply reform what we already have to have better outcomes?
Institutions themselves don't change things. The people do. Institutions, so creating an institution without the people being committed to change and the ways we constitute the members of the commission, the Social Cohesion Commission, will determine. But if you have a Social Cohesion Commission, what kinds of powers or skills or do you have? I gave you the issue of education, for instance, where you are having policies that, let's say the Social Cohesion Commission, as an example, compels every public office holder to educate their child in Nigeria. If you want to hold a public office, don't take your child outside of the country. You must.
Another issue with that would be compliance, because we've got policies, but how many of these policies do we follow? To the letter.
That's why I'm saying, what's the power of that commission? So it's good to have. It's a very good practice to have an institution that is charged with something. But when I was reading the report and I look at the detail in terms of implementation, how will this happen? Because if we look at all the things that are causing the fracture, you need a commission that either has a power or a very strong persuasive power to be able to do that.
True.
If you are from Akwa Ibom, if you are from Kano, Can you own land in the other states and do your business without harassment? When Peter Obi was governor of Anambra State, he sent other Igbo people back to their states. And this is not a political statement in terms of whether he should be or should not be. But I'm saying, even we are doing this to the extent of individual states, not just ethnicity now. You had the same ethnicity, but because we're not from the same state. You're not from the same state. And you sent people from one state packing. So what will the National Social Cohesion Commission have in terms of mandate, in terms of being able to, is it going to be just persuasive, or will it have a real mandate to make pronouncements that can be complied with?
Very important.
That would be the challenge I would give to that commission if it's established.
Okay, I like the fact that you let's look at it in terms of creating new agencies, just like you mentioned. If you have such agencies, what specific policy reforms should government prioritize in terms of strengthening inclusion? Because you talked about being in one state and also owning property or business across different equity, accountability, and public confidence is one of the issues we looked at, because of course we know that economic hardship continues to affect millions of Nigerians, but we want to see that inclusivity play out for. So beyond the agencies being created, how should the government prioritize that, strengthening such things like inclusion and all that?
Inclusion, again, maybe I'm going to say another controversial thing.
That's fine.
I did not agree with more seats for women in the parliament.
Reserved seats and all of that.
Reserved seats. I think that if you really, because those reserved seats, they are going to be token number of seats, 5, 6, whatever, and they're going to be hijacked by elite women. But if you make it a policy today, that no policy passes in the National Assembly without at least 2 million women votes. So the women don't have to have a seat. But as soon as you have resolved as a National Assembly, then women with their BVN verified from their homes, from wherever they are, should be able to, same way we do online transactions, let them be able to say, yes, I want this to be passed. I don't want this. What does that do instantly? It means that whichever legislature or whoever the legislator is responsible for that has to now encourage mass awareness amongst women and make sure that if the voices of women are not heard in a certain direction, that law doesn't pass. What does that also do for us? It means that we value the roles that women play in our communities, and we don't have to remove them to come and be participating in late night meetings and all of that, and leave either the children or leave the kinds of critical roles they play for society. If a woman is educated, the children are going to be educated. If a woman is not educated, chances are they won't. If a woman is going to go into high power partisan politics, all those late night meetings and different things, often if you check many of them, the childbirth is lower, in relation. But if you leave her in whatever position she is, but she has a voice from wherever she is.
Well, how practical is that for women in the rural communities who don't maybe have access to these technologies that require this? How so?
So if you ask a woman, if you have a reserved seat, and you say she should leave her home to come stay in Abuja, or in the metropolis, in the capital city of the state, which one is easier compared to she having a mobile phone?
But the person she's voting for is supposed to be there representing that woman in the rural community.
No, she shouldn't. Any issue, that's what I'm saying. So if you have certain key issues or any issue, if the National Assembly wants to pass the state police bill into law, the National Assembly needs to get maybe 2 million or 5 million women's votes for that issue each time. It looks complex, But it's as simple as money point OPay transactions or whatever transactions we make.
True.
That this is the time. This, if you, the same way like a voter registration, all women or all people should register electronically with their BVN verified everything. If you want to vote, same thing you do in the online transactions. You say, close your eyes to be sure that you are the person and you are alive.
Yes. So blink your eyes.
Yeah, blink your eyes. It's being done because if you are sleeping, someone could have put it on your face. But if it says open your eyes and blink, open your mouth and close it, it shows that you are conscious, you are awake, and you are the real person transacting. This is simpler than all the advocacy for a reserved seat that will be captured by elite women.
Okay.
Now, another aspect which is very important, Anita, is the economic realities we have. So to what extent do unemployment, poverty, and also inequality, how does it weaken social cohesion and the distrust that we have in the government?
There's what we call your agency, your ability. So if I say to you, I'm going to see you tomorrow morning. If I don't have transport, I can't keep to my word.
True.
Right?
True.
So when you have a people that don't have that self-efficacy, their ability to say a word and keep to their words, it weakens even whether I can trust you, even in relationships.
True.
So if I tell you that, please, next week's your birthday, I'm going to take you out. And then next week comes and I say, I'm actually, and it weakens your trust in me. And over time, you're going to say, nah, leave her. So it becomes a norm. You think that. So if people are poor, if people are unemployed, then they start seeing themselves with distrust, because it's when you are poor that you start noticing that it's the Hausa man that has a job, it's the Fulani man that has this, it's the Yoruba man that has this. If we stuff the government with one ethnic group, but you are doing well in wherever you are, chances are that you are less likely.
You won't give a care.
Yeah.
Yes.
So poverty, unemployment, and all those really are central to the conversations about social cohesion. The government having a responsibility. The government has a responsibility in terms of crime, in terms of welfare, shelter, and all of that. Where are the guarantees for the ordinary citizens who, if I fall on hard times today, God forbid, and I cannot afford food.
Today, social security.
Social security system. What cushions it? That is what makes your vote become one vote. A hungry man who knows that 5,000 makes a difference to them right now. You can't be blaming them and say, oh, wait, voter buying. Hope is a luxury right now. Hope to say, don't worry, if we vote to your conscience, it's a luxury. Those of us who say it, if we are honest, we know that just put yourself in the shoes of that person. Even you, if tomorrow or this weekend you don't have money to support your family, just imagine how depressed you might feel. And then you are telling someone who, even the 5,000 you are talking about, the person does not
have at the point in time.
And then you're saying, oh, don't worry. I don't know why Nigerians are not patient. They just reject the money. It is very possible for you to say that because your salary is 150, 200, 500 a month.
Even the 150, 200, 500, how is it cushioning the effects?
Talk more of a person that can't even afford that 5,000.
Literally, I see people every week that are dying of not being able to afford their BP medicine, their diabetes medicine. These ones come to you every day in your inbox. And that's the person that you are saying when you are being offered 5,000. You shouldn't take it.
Okay. So that brings me to where I want a practical role where civil society the media, the religious institutions, youth groups, women, and can play, because all of this still boils down to these individuals, because we started a conversation on narratives. Yes, we know there are policies that suppresses or looks at the media or the civil society group as see you as a hungry person or subjects you to a poverty mindset, and then you're struggling to say, should I say this or should I not say this? Should I tow this route or should I not do that? So how can we rebuild trust and strengthen social cohesion to ensure that we have a unified nation, and this weak policies does not really affect us? Because practically the instance you just gave is a major challenge, a major reality. We cannot do away with that, to say people will not fall into traps of where you say, take this and survive for now, tomorrow will be better. So we need narratives from institutions like the media. And how can the media also find a level playing field for themselves, as well as the civil society and the religious body? Because I'm concerned about the religious body, because very soon, just like you mentioned, it will become a concern where citizens will start accusing them, because there's always the back and forth around that. So rebuilding that trust, how do we get back to that for social cohesion?
Rebuilding trust, first of all, let's know, we took minimum of 50, 60 years to make it, to dilapidate the trust. To destroy the trust. Right? So we need, we don't have quick fixes that should, but we have things we must do today if we must get that beans ready in the next 5 hours, right?
There's a pressure point. There's a pressure point.
So if you must, I believe that when you look at the key professions that have an important bearing on the cohesion of the nation, you've got the military, you've got the teachers, you've got the health workers, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, you've got journalists. There are a few more. I mean, just think about it. These same people are almost the people that are underpaid. The entire rank and file. Just don't look at the generals, the police, the lawyers. The police. Even lawyers. If you're a new lawyer,
before you get to where you
they pay you 30,000 today. In this economy,
I know someone who receives 30,000. I was a lawyer.
So this is still happening right now. And as look at journalism, it's worse. You are given an ID card and someone says that's your meal ticket. But all from the judiciary to the police to the media to the teachers, these are the people that have key pressure points for the cohesion of the society. If we thwart justice, people stop believing in the legal system, because they say, it's only the 419ers and the people who loot the public treasury that can pay the senior advocates of Nigeria, and the senior advocates of Nigeria allegedly go and they are the ones who bribe the judges and blah blah blah
and get the results.
So that's why people who steal huge amounts of money find the right lawyers and all of that. So this is the kind of thinking, and for me the narrative I keep saying we need to change
if we want to get it right.
If we want to get it right, is that we need to consciously look at these pressure points, these key nodes in our society, and then agree on barest minimums. On LinkedIn, I wrote an article and I said the journalist needs to be paid a minimum of 3 million naira.
Monthly.
Yes, if we want journalism to be journalism. And there have been a lot of debates around that point.
The practicality of it.
I said, look, in 2005, Soludo, as CBN governor, began a banking consolidation. If you are a media organization, that is a different role from holding opinion as guaranteed by the Constitution. If you are holding an opinion, create your blog, create your social media pages, hold your personal opinion.
Yeah.
But so long as you start employing people to gather news and current affairs in a structured system, there's a human resource thing involved. There is logistics involved. There are social systems involved. You cannot then bring a journalist and then just like this is Sunday morning.
Yeah.
We're here on Sunday morning. You probably worked yesterday, Saturday. You probably worked, so it's 24/7. You have no rest, you have nothing, and yet you've got a family. And if you've got children, you've got dependents, how do you pay their school fees? How do you do all of that? If you must do this 24/7,
there should be provision.
There should be provision for you not to be thinking about how do I feed my family? Who is the house help helping to cook for your husband right now? Who is paying for that?
Yes.
So these are the kinds. So when I said 3 million, I broke it down. So any media organization that cannot do that, go and merge. Get the minimum resources that will allow you to practice, to pay and practice. Same with all the institutions. People ask me, then how can you pay the police 3 million naira a month? And I say, well, how can you not? Look at us right now. All the banks, all the institutions that have policemen guarding them are paying probably in the region of 40 to 50,000 every month extra for each police person.
Wow.
Extra for each police person. They are most likely feeding them. If that money is consciously pooled into a pot,
yes,
the monies that we use to influence decisions, the monies that if these monies come centrally, you can actually pay the police properly. And you may say it cannot be 3 million naira, but you really need to look at the monies that are passing under the system. There are data across on this issue.
Yes. And then what we want us to ask, if you're saying pay 3 million for some media owners, they'll be like, so how much does he generate?
Yes, that's the question. So I went further and I said, think of what happens when a football club hires a valuable player.
Okay.
What do? They are not saying only kick the football in the pitch, right? They are saying that you are a valued talent. Your endorsement deals, we take you to for endorsement deals. We take you
your brand, your image.
We take you you write books, podcasts, different stuff that you get paid for, and they are in the pool. Right now, you're here. If you're engaging in MCing, you almost do it under the radar, right? Because the organization hasn't officially made it a policy. But if the organization were advertising you and saying, hey, this Anita Patrick, Hamza, they are available, they are amazing MCs, 5 million naira per show. There's a different corporate representation, and the organization then either keeps 50%, 30%, whatever percentage, and then it adds to the pool of overall resources.
Yes.
And you're not even going to do it under the radar, because there's an official marketing and HR that backs what you're doing. That's where the 3 million will come from. Your book deals, your teaching in private universities, because hey, this private university wants you to come teach for 2 hours. We engage with their mass comm students, and they say, well, that's 3 million naira for speaking opportunities and all of that. The private university taking 5 million naira, why should they not be able to afford that 3 million naira for just one interaction that is powerful? You are then going to be a better professional. You are going to make sure that interaction is not going to be wishy-washy. You're going to put in the best research. And the organization will put in money to ensure that research is tight.
Because it's also a good representation of the organization as well. Well, this is a whole lot. Thank you so much for this. Well, this is Well, we want to say thank you to our guests. It's been an amazing conversation. That's why I said to the development experts understand how to build that and give us. Thank you so much, Mr. Diego, for your time. And we look forward to having more of this, your insights, coming up to Stockholm.
And of course, we hope the recommendations will be implemented, and that commission maybe might become a reality.
I'm actually going to write it as a policy brief and send it to the Minister of Information. Because, again, we don't just... In development communication, we don't believe in just awareness. We believe that we've created awareness, you have to follow through. You have to take that, write it as a policy brief, go to the minister's office, request an opportunity to present it to him or
so
her.
He understands and
House Committee on Information and all those places, they may not have direct executive powers, they may have legislative powers. We write it to all those places. That's how we all can be active citizens
and also have a balance in the social
cohesion
space.
Yes.
Well, there you have it. He said a whole lot. If we want to have a cohesive society where we have policies working, and not weak policies, but workable policies that can also help build the mindset of a whole lot of people, we can do that better through our own contributions or our quota to that nation, or starting with Nigeria, basically, because we want to see where media practitioners, security operatives, everyone can bring in their best parts to come to bear. Thank you so much, Mr. Diego, for your time. Well, you know so far that the African Polling Institute's findings paint a picture of cautious optimism. Nigeria remains willing to embrace unity and peaceful coexistence, but citizens expect stronger leadership, more inclusive policies, and institutions they can trust. And also we understand that building that social cohesion requires more than slogans. It demands fairness, accountability, equal opportunities, and policies that genuinely improve people's lives. Well, it's been an amazing conversation, Mukhtar.
Most definitely it was. It's been a great one. And like I said, I'd like to see all of these recommendations become reality, because I think it's going to make Nigeria a better place for all of us.
Okay, we'll find that interesting. Thank you so much once again to our guests. And this is where we leave the conversation. We hope that everyone who understands how this affects the nation will also bring in their best interests of the nation to bear, so we have a beautiful and unified Nigeria. Up next, we'll be bringing our next discussion. You don't want to miss it, just like we just dished out this amazing mindset to you. Stay with us until we come back with the second discussion segment. See you soon.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
At Aerogym Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. Located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear. All crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Aerogym Shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
Thank you for staying with us. Of course, it's Global Morning, and we've done the other discussion segments. We have another very beautiful conversation. We want you to also stick with us and talk about. Let's tell you that we're going to be looking at small businesses, the big small businesses, big impacts, and then we're looking at can Nigeria's MSMEs drive economic growth? That's one question that's begging for answers, and of course we will break this down with you as well, and we'll have an expert who's in the house with us to break this down. But let's give you a guide to how this is on how that can flow rightly with us. Well, micro, small and medium sized enterprises, formerly known as MSMEs, remain one of the strongest pillars of Nigeria's economy, from neighborhood shops and fashion brands to technology startups, manufacturers and agro-businesses. Millions of Nigerians rely on small businesses for their livelihoods. Well, Mukhtar wants to break this down as well.
But one thing is, despite all of these enormous contributions that you have said and the economic activities around the MSMEs, many of them still have a lot of challenges in terms of how they contribute to the economy and how all of the Nigerian people are able to key into this business for financial independence. And that's going to be the fulcrum of this conversation today, because the struggles include access to finance and all of the other struggles, rising operational cost, inflation, unstable power supply, and of course the increasing the challenge of doing business in Nigeria. And of course we've seen government and development partners made a lot of contribution, and they've all had conversations around this particular phenomenon, basically.
Well, just like Muter has said, as government and development partners continue to search for solutions, this is one of the concerns we're looking at. An important question remains: can Nigeria's MSMEs truly become the engine of sustainable economic growth? And that's where we're looking at all of this. But joining us right now to speak on this issue is Ambassador Victor Adetolaju. He's a youth development strategist, chairman of the Students' Chamber of Commerce, and a social impact and workforce development advisor whose work focuses on entrepreneurship, skill development, and enterprise growth. Well, Ambassador Victor, it's good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me once again.
Okay, amazing. Well, we look forward to you breaking this down, because it's good that from you, the youth angle of it, and you understand the minds of the young people and their drive or intuition towards building a business brand, becoming strong billionaires tomorrow. Because the billionaires we have today started somewhere from the 1990s with investing in very small businesses, which is the key startup to this. But let me throw this to you. Many people hear the term MSMEs quite often. And what exactly qualifies as an MSME, and why are these businesses so important to Nigeria's economy? Let's start with that first.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. Like I mentioned, the MSME conversation is a very, very pivotal one, because they represent 90% of global businesses and are responsible for 60% of employment. And that is very strong. That means there's no conversation that can go ahead without having that kind of, like, putting those kind of group of people at the center stage. And today, I hope that we'll be able to look into, the crucibles of how will come about all this. So the medium, small scale enterprises are businesses that are already doing well and are employing between 1 to 250. So across board, so we have the medium, we have the small scale, like that from 110, you're employing 10, 50, and things like that. That is what is regarded as small scale businesses. And like I mentioned, man generally is very enterprising. So when you talk about enterprising, is movement from one place, even ventures. That means you are making an adventure from one place to another. And then those interactions begin to, when you want to transact, coming back from our trade by barter, you want to transact, language, a lot of things go on. And as man is evolving, transactions are beginning to evolve. But there is this major thing about it, is that there is a science to it. Right? There is a science to it, and that is one of the things that I hope we get into this conversation with the questions that we have outlined. That MSMEs are like, they are not things that are structured, like, and say, okay, this is the type of MSMEs that must, like, they are organic. That's what I'm getting to. They are organic transactions. You understand? Somebody has a skill, you can play it. You understand? So when you begin to do that consistently, maybe everybody now knows you. You understand? Then you want to put structure around it. You now have a name, Becky, hairdresser. You understand? So some people now stumble into this bracket. You understand? And actually, it's like the longest form of engagement that man has actually recorded. Yes. So now when you now look at it in the context of, now yesterday was the International Day of the MSMEs, right? And there are a lot of conversations around it globally. But when you look at it in the confine of, because you mentioned youth and Nigeria, in the confine of a developing country like ours, MSME conversation must be a very critical driving point for everything that we do. Like, it is something that all our institutions and structures must be built around. And I'm saying that with all sense of responsibility, right? That we must be deliberate and intentional. Like, if you look at history, you will look at many countries, developing countries that you have today, they rose on the arms of MSMEs.
Well, that's no doubt, because like I said, it's often mentioned, and that's one guy that can help a whole lot of young minds understand the terrain and how that can actually become, yes, because a lot of people don't think becoming a billionaire is just like
something that you have
so it starts by little steps, baby steps, and it gives an edge.
Now, we've heard that MSCs are described as backbone of economy. But beyond that slogan, how can we actually see them being the backbone of an economy? I know you've mentioned a bit of that. I'd like for you to be more elaborate in this particular.
Okay, so I want to actually pinpoint and narrow down to Nigeria and Africa, as the case may be, because I'm a development advocate. That's what I dedicate my whole life to see. Because when you look back, you will discover that Nigeria is the reason why we have the country Nigeria is because of transactions, trade. Like a concept called Nigeria is born out of trade. Of course, that leads to the colonial rule and the things like that, the protectorate, the Niger colony, and everything like that. So that means Nigeria happened. I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, because I know leaders of tomorrow, a lot of people are very eager to see this, is that Nigeria found itself, or Africa found itself in the global trade without an indigenous preparation. I don't know if you understand. So because we cannot understand our present if we are not clear about our past. So the oil boom actually happened. I'm not talking about fuel, I'm talking about palm oil. The oil boom, that skyrocketed the Benin Empire was because the West was already thriving on trade, and the source of that movement was on the palm oil. So, and they saw a. Do you understand? So we got ourselves into that global conversation, even when we were just living our lives in communities, we were fighting our little tribal wars. You understand? But there was a civilization going somewhere that needed us. You understand? So that means, and that's why I'm looking at, because today I'm just looking at what are the issues. You understand? Why are SMEs now? And we're going to bring it on. So that means we find ourselves as a puzzle, as a piece of a very large puzzle in the global trade. And then we are here. So, and then the guys came, the colonization and everything. Slave trade also was on the backbone of that. They needed a lot of people to build. So Africa was seeing itself moving into a global trade, barefooted. So we are still at that point now, that at a time when we're developing all the regions and everybody was focused on agriculture, the granite pyramid, the education system, the cocoa, the first tallest building in Africa was built in Ibadan through the produce from cocoa. I'm going somewhere. Now, we now became merchants of these things. And then when it now came to the race for mineral resources, we are now exporting also. Forgetting that there is a missing link that make these countries and civilizations grow. If you have seen a document like The Men Who Built America, there were guys that were focused on little things, steel, cobalt, just the rails, road and everything. So that means the countries, and I can give you some statistics actually. Now, when you look at places, so we look at of course Nigeria, we have talked about it, but in the global stage, you see Germany, you understand, rising from the World War through this backbone of the SMEs. Industries like sweet making, chocolate making, grew exponentially. But what I'm saying is the gap between these big industries and Africa is that we've not taken time to actually concentrate on building that unholding sector that actually connects the chain. You understand? So if you see, our economy is an extractive economy. So the roads that were even built, you understand, were to lead from the mines to the port, from the farm to the port, right? So that is where we have actually found ourselves, kind of, and then that is why we have a lot of extractive, the minings, the industries and everything. So, and then unfortunately the government now was built around the largest coming from the oil boom, when the oil boom came in the 70s, right? So that means critically now, Nigeria must focus on developing the MSMEs, right?
Okay, so let's look at it from the historical background and the breakthroughs in financing and also credit access, just like you mentioned, how Nigeria needs to look at this. Historically constrained by a massive 13 million Naira credit gap, Nigerians MSMEs are now benefiting from new risk sharing, just like you mentioned, the different businesses, the oil boom and all that, sharing financial mechanisms, and that targets funds to overcome traditional collateral demands. One of the concerns we look at and the worries we have. We've seen credit guarantees, which is some cause of concern that we need to also pay attention to. And we also see the DBN interventions. Some of those things are also concerns we see that should stand tall and should build a better network for people. How will these gaps, these credit gaps, be built on? How will these credit gaps change narrative of things? Because you mentioned how there are gaps, and Nigeria needs to build and change the narrative of things from where it's going and ensure that MSMEs are standing on the right tool or the right direction to guide the mindsets, because we're more like an extractive, just like you mentioned. I want to look at how we can bridge that gap from that credit gap from what you said.
Okay, thank you so much for mentioning that critical point on credit, because that is the lifeblood. So I made mention of Arike hairdressing the other time because your hair is very beautiful.
Thank you.
I can imagine, you understand. So, but what do you think the problem of Arike hairdressing is going to be? No, she's consistent. She has about 30 people that she wants to attend to. Now she needs to get an office or a shop. Let's say that. She needs to equip it, right? But you know, the last time I checked, to get a loan in our bank now, you have to cough out 40% of the interest.
Okay.
The interest rate is not favorable.
Okay.
And one thing I will say again with a lot of sense of responsibility is that I feel like the whole institutions and the structures, we are not conscious of our numbers.
Okay.
Right? So with a recent study that we did, right, we discovered that Nigeria is actually working, but the numbers are wrong. You know, I've heard the saying that Nigeria is very good on paper. So what it means is that, when we got independence, I'm going to credit, right? Because you cannot when you want to over credit, you have to know how many people are we getting credit for.
Okay.
Yesterday, the president announced free registration for 250,000 MSMEs. Fantastic, but that is very small.
But that's a good. Is that
I'm speaking to the fact of numbers, right? So I'm saying that Nigeria actually works for about 40 million of our population.
Okay.
Right? Do you know why? Because the time of the peak when Nigeria was actually functioning, you know, when after independence, the population there was 40 million, and all the designs, everything that you had, the roads, the infrastructure, the housing, everything was to take care of 40 people. I'm very, very, very key.
40 million
people. Do you know that every year Nigeria gives birth to 5 million children at the average, and that's the size of Gambia. Now that means we are adding that size of Gambia to our population every year without adequate preparation. You know, when Nigeria got independence, we had just 1,500 graduates. So people in 25, 35 were becoming permanent secretaries. That's why you have the history that people from primary 6 were teachers. You have to come back to come and teach after from 6. You understand what I'm saying? That is, we had. And I think many of those people that grew up then did not even imagine the number that we are now. We are doing 250 million and things like that. We have about 80 million out of school children. I'm going somewhere. Now, at any time, Nigeria had when Nigeria got independence, we had about 2 universities, right? UNN and UI, right? And most of our guys were outside. So they had to be calling them back to come and be restructuring the country. And that frenzy of you graduated, they gave you a car because there was a need. Every expatriate was leaving. We had a shortage of leadership. That was leadership in those sectors, in these places to man them, right? Now, in the year 2050, Nigeria is going to be about 350 million. So every institution, every infrastructure must be preparing for that. That's about just 24 years away, right? So when you say and currently we have about 70 million Nigerian youth, So now look at that number compared to 250,000. It's not even up to half of the people, students that graduate every year. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that means, I mean, we need to, in developing this country now, we are giving access. We have about 6 unicorns in Nigeria, right? And they are doing well. I think it's because I read the story of InterSwitch a few days ago. The guy built a technology because he saw that banks could not communicate with themselves, financially. You can't transfer, you can't use this person's ATM, etc. He built that InterSwitch without having a share in it. Those are the kind of mindset that we actually drive. But what are the support, the structural support? I just talked about the interest rates now.
Okay, so the structural support, there's a report here. I want us to look at it because this happened just recently, where the presidents, the MSMEs creating through the president, through the vice presidents, creating prosperity, improving living conditions of Nigerians. That's the reform from the president. And let me break this down. Well, the vice president declared that the administration is also building a sustainable enterprise-led Nigeria where MSMEs are going to be used as platform to improving the livelihood of people and also ensuring that prosperity is created.
Very important. Yeah.
And then let me give the breakdown to what this was done. They said the vice president describes the small business as an engine room for the country, noting that they improve the livelihood, just like we've mentioned. And then he said 90% of all small businesses, they are MSMEs in Nigeria.
Of course, that is the global statistic.
They are the largest employers of labor in the country, which we know are providing jobs for over 60 million, because you said youths are 70 million. Over 60 million youths, a million of our people. Let's say, for instance, we have 70 million youths. If 60 million are provided with such platform, it gives an edge to give SMEs the sustainable platform
to get employment and all of that.
And then through bold and innovative ideas, they sweat through courage and improve. Like, let's look at how this is transforming communities. Communities and also and because the vice president outlines certain records of success that have been done so far. He said since 2023, the expanded national MSMEs clinics have partnered with state governments to bring the clinics across all 6 geopolitical zones, which is also part of the efforts to create that sustainable platform. He also said the clinics also enable small business owners to engage directly with regulatory agencies, that's the financial institutions, and also business support organizations. And then he also said while they are receiving on-the-spot solutions of their challenges, these are partnerships they have with the business of financial institutions to enable them have platforms. But let's look at, he said they've institutionalized 21 states of the Act's shared infrastructure facilities. That's providing affordable access to high-level internet. Because if you want to try your business, you need to have internet
power
to advertise.
Yes.
All of those things are without modern machinery and collaborative spaces from digital youth hubs for the tech innovators to share. Just like you said, the InterSwitch thing for the young man who he did to also production spaces for fashions. And I'm just looking at for you to understand the provisions from the government's perspective. How significant is this contribution to employment? You being a development advocate who understands how SME stands out to build, how is this contribution going to also ensure we have a stable flow for the younger generation so that Nigeria comes out from that economic hardship and also stand out more for in terms of economic sustainability?
One thing is that the government at all levels are actually out there, making life better, ensuring policies, the regulations to actually look at the fantastic job just done by the Ministry of Interior concerning the NIMC, that is to universe. So one thing I want to say is that there's a way that we are rushing ourselves. I've said it, that we found ourselves in the global list of space. So, when you always hear the Nigerian dream, I think we should change it practically to the Nigerian purpose. I'm holistically attending to what you have said concerning what we are building, you understand? I've been to some of the incubation centers, you understand? I've seen what happens there, you understand, even since the time of the former administration. But it still speaks to the fact that the kind of information or the direction that we give the young people, are you getting me?
Yeah.
Must not be fragmented. There must be a link up. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, like I mentioned, we have a deficit of leadership. I'm not talking about the national leadership now. I'm talking about people that are always in process to be leaders. Okay. You understand? It's not deepened in our mind enough. You know, like I said, leadership came to people in primary schools that they were teaching. You understand? But we have a lot of young people today that they don't have a sense of belonging. That's why I said the sense of purpose needs the Nigerian purpose
needs to be defined.
Need to be defined and say, oh, you see, the pathway we want to go is actually through the SMEs. You understand? So that the students, so what you see most times, I can tell you on authority that most of these innovation centers, you know, they are deserted. And most of the entrepreneurs that you are seeing, they are people that are moving through grit. You know, I heard that the investor come from the West recently, interacting with young. I say, why is all of you starting NGO, looking for money and things like that? I said, okay, when I looked at it, I had like a 30-minute conversation with her, and after I just look at it, like, this lady don't know what it means to be a Nigerian. You understand? Like you mentioned, power and internet. Do you know how much this will cost now? You know, just to power your institution. So, like, if you see that we need a lot of help and all the help that we can get. True. And that speaks to the fact that, of course, thank God for democracy. You know, democracy is a place where everybody is becoming a power, you know, a power broker. You can be a leader and things like that. But it is not like we have not been able to collectively connect it. Like Adamu in Kano, you understand, should be able to see that, oh, what I'm doing in leather fit into a national, that's the conversation today.
National conversation.
How is this my small phone repair, how is it connecting? You see, how we know it's connecting is that if we receive support without having to queue somewhere or know any man. You know, I told you that MSME are mostly organic. You understand? There are things that people are just, oh, I like this clothes, I want to take rice from this place to this place. You are already becoming an SME. You are empowering the driver, you are empowering the, so how do we, I said the science of it, the science of backing that hairdresser. What's the science of it? That how do we identify? You understand? Like I was talking about the registration. Do you know how, if I was talking about the hairdresser getting a shop, do you know how many people will come and collect tax from her? Signage will come, local government will come, sanitation will come on that small hairdresser. Do you understand what I'm saying? That means she has to do double of what her counterparts in other clients that are ready. You understand? So that means it might not be necessary that she should now move to an innovation hub. That means development must be holistic and total. You understand what I'm saying? So, and that leadership mindset needs to come from somewhere to be able to say, oh, you see, you are doing very well. This is what we have come to help you with.
So that's very important because we've seen situations where people start up these MSMEs.
Of course.
Then survival in the long time is something that doesn't
sustainability.
Sustainability wears off over time. So what are the factors that account for that lack of sustainability? And then what are the ways
like the research that says that within 5 years, most of them die off. Most of them die off. Like they can't remember. I will tell you a very, very important story. Because as a student chamber of commerce, we are attending to over 1.8 million students, and then there are a lot of conversations that we're having. You know, we are not even talking about the health care. The health care that we currently have does not even cater for the informal sector like that. The NHI does not capture them. You know, we are working with organizations that can, even organizations that have been recognized in the UK by young people. You understand? Agriculture, how many of our young people are interested in agriculture now? You understand? The fintech, how are they interested in supplying, you know, so the survival of that hairdresser? How is it easy to assess many things? You understand what I'm saying? So I was talking about a story of a guy that my very good friend, I consulted for him some years ago. And what was he doing? His intention is to make pap dry. Very indigenous idea. The guy started, and this guy is even one of the guys that made me visit the incubation center at Ogun State. You know, he's doing well. A lot of guys, people dry pepper, they are trying to use the same equipment. This is the reality, cold reality of an average Nigerian that is enterprising. Are you getting what I'm saying? But this guy today has quit that job.
Why?
He can't sustain it. He told me he has approached BUI, he has approached this, he has approached this organization.
So access to finance is a major problem.
Access to finance is killing. You understand? And he's bringing the money. Okay, this is a projection for the year. Before you know it, fuel has entered. You understand? Inflation is eating deep into the capital. The guy said, please, I have a family. Let me go and survive first. That's an innovation that can take him to the global stage. But because that environment, you know, the guy has to survive first. How can he be living on loans? You know, there are debts to pay. You know, he's trying to transport his goods. There's maybe one terrorist kidnapping on the way. They can't move this. You know, those kind of things. So that's why I said that I believe that numbers, you understand, we cannot be handling government at the federal level cannot be doing things in thousands. We have to be doing things in millions. So
but it's only the federal government, because most times we tend to look at the center.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That the concentration. We thank God for some nationals now. We are talking about state policing, you know, to improve security. We are talking about huge allocation to the governors and things like that. But one thing I'm saying is that we have not. You know, our leaders have interacted with a lot of them. They are not looking at us and looking at numbers. So we say that those guys in those days, they did not prepare for this time. You know, when I talk to young people, Nigeria, that's why I want to jackpot, like I was in a conversation recently, and I told them I'm not going anywhere. Africa is young, Nigeria is very young, needs a lot of building. Those places you are going to, they have spent hundreds of years building them. But if you don't see yourself as a part of a building, yes, there are no support, there are no contribution, and that is what our leaders, that is why I said we have deficit of leaders. Leaders in the sense that who is going to prepare for the next generation? You know, we are 250 million or thereabout now, no census yet. But that is when those 350 million people jump on us, they will telling us now that we did not prepare for them. Do you understand? So leadership in that sense of numbers is something that must be intentional, and that's just so in the subnational too. You can't just be investing in cars. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like there was a case in our sector. A lady died recently because there was no equipment in the hospital. A student, promising student. You know that's very remote, but it's all connect. So if that healthcare innovator has been supported, like this guy I told you that is working on is working on prepaid health insurance. It was recognized by King Charles last month. A young man that his sustainable solution is to say all these guys riding Okada, all these SMEs that cannot afford the big insurance. Let's come together, let's contribute. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. And begin to put money together. At least an average Nigerian spend like 120,000 to treat malaria in a year. Those are the numbers. And this guy is saying let's contribute about 60,000 naira monthly, 5,000, where we are going to be able to provide healthcare. If that guy is struggling currently as I'm talking to you, he has been recognized in the UK, but today in Nigeria he can't seem to even see infrastructure. He was telling me he has to go and take loan to get solar.
Okay, so
do you understand? So these are the theory of issues that when we are now sitting at the table of government, like we're talking about the subnationals, the numbers must be facing us. Like one of the things that we are doing in the Student Chamber of Commerce now is that one student to go and volunteer at the local government. And so that they will be interested in civil service. Like what the government must be connected with the young people. There must always be a disconnect. You understand? So that it's only the change of government, political leadership. We need leaders, and young people as they are looking at me. What I've been consulting them about is that start preparing for that leadership position where you'll be able to handle all these issues, so that you are not saying, "Oh, they did not give me." You now, what are you going to give the generation that is coming behind you? And that's what I want. Let me tell you something. Nigeria don't have enough money. Well, quote and unquote. The meaning is this: that we are concentrating on the oil part of our revenue and the revenue, and so we are sitting down and sharing money every month. That has been the case for a very long time, right? But this money is not enough in the face of the number I just mentioned.
But the ones we have, how have we utilized
it?
Now, so I wanted to ask before you, sorry to cut in, because as at 22nd of May 2026, from the bill, that's Bank of Industry, you know, they disbursed 200 billion naira to support small businesses.
Okay.
I'm looking at the part of leadership and what role that's played as well. And then let's look at the grant issues, which is also a way to pedal and also support small businesses, because we're looking at that stability and how that support system can come in. Leadership, yes. Leadership by default.
Yeah, of course, not just political.
By default, across different fields.
Sectors, a lot of industry sectors, yeah.
So
the civil service especially.
Provide several funding opportunities for micro, small, and medium enterprises through federal initiatives, which is one of the ways to cushion these challenges of these effects we have. The primary active programs so far include the Presidential Conditional Grant Scheme, which is offering 50,000 naira grants to businesses across. We have the nano business and also the National MSMEs Awards as well, which reward top performing entrepreneurs with cash as well. These are information from the Bank of Industry speaker. Also, we also have a part where there was a time for applications for this, that was still in 2026, where SMS awards were given with beneficiaries of over 100 Nigerians to share 1 billion naira to also give them a way to cushion the financial or credit access. Because I listened to your conversation where you said your friend's business is actually dying off because of sustainability plan, financial access. So have you spoken to people on accessibility to these grants? It might not be much in context to say it will add up, but little here and there makes the ocean, and it gives an edge to the MSMEs to stand. So because one thing with starting a business is if you get the support, it gives you an avenue to deal with a particular challenge, and then you build that business. Because we want to see how these small businesses can actually drive the economy, ensure that young people are not just languishing away, they are doing something actively with their education. Someone might be educated, but it's not opportunity to have a white collar job.
I like
there
that.
are businesses that can help them build, because you are still in the school environment, which is a way to mold the minds of the younger generation who are coming out. Like I said, leadership by default. You cannot wait for leadership forever, but leadership in their little way are providing this level playing field so that SMMEs, which is the grassroots, for me I call it the grassroots, because the driving force to economic growth. If we want to have a nation that can be accountable for itself, or young people who can be accountable, just like you mentioned the hairdressing as well. Hairdressing, you can get support from family. If the government tops up that support from family, you have an edge. You're not sitting down idle. You're doing something visible with yourself, and of course, it should also be a part of contribution.
So my concern now, this statistics you roll out. I know he's also one who is in the business ecosystem. So I'd like to know how accessible are all these funds? Are they, as they have been stated, or are there challenges in accessing these funds, even with the fact that the government has said they are available for whoever is interested?
Yes, so by the grace of God, I've actually been part of a project by the Bank of Industry to roll out money for the SMEs. There's a lot of broken and fragmented issues, but what we are actually talking about today is how this dovetail into the national economy, driving the national economy and growth. So that's why I'm focused more on the national, away from the subnationals, and then development banks, Development Bank of Nigeria, agricultural banks. There are a lot of them. Bank of Industry topping the list. But you hear Bank of Industry talk about they do infrastructure, they do machinery, right? They want to support machinery, right? And sometimes they want to. But one thing, because we are a low trust society, like you have mentioned, like in the academic education sector that I focus on, we want to see how to connect the industry and the academic together. Like let the research of the academic actually move into let's handshake. You understand? Like that's why one of the reasons I like a school like University of Abuja. Before you graduate, you must have a CSC certificate. That might look very loose, but it's very, very important. And I've seen a lot of very good products coming from there. Now, for national economy, Bank of Industry is having I'm not taking a brief for them, you understand, but to connect to the grassroots, you understand, there must be a major conversation, you understand, and say, oh, this 200 million, I get what I'm saying. This is the institution we are going to be backing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we have seen, like the project I was part of now, it has to, Development Bank cannot send money directly to Yaruka. So there are layers. There's a consultant. I'm telling you practically. So you are going to connect with a consultant. A consultant will profile them. That's where I was, to profile, put them in cooperatives. Very important, right? Structures. But that's what I'm questioning is the intentionality. You understand? Like, okay, if I make this clear. When we're growing up, we're told, go to school, read your book, pass a lot, you're going to get a job. But I do kukuka in the Yoruba parlance, like your shoe sound well. So, but that's no longer true. And it's no longer true, it's not a negative way. You know those guys that got cars from Seplat and Chevron when they graduated because we are having a deficit of leaders and they did not know, like what we are studying in the academy, that they had free restaurants. I'm still coming back home. Now, that story is what our generation, like I used to tell people in our community, that you are like the second generation of educated people. And that speaks to you, I like intentional leadership also. There's a way you call it now, the leadership stuff that you mentioned now. So you're like, you still know your grandparents that were uneducated. Almost all of us here. So that means we're actually a generation that is very important in the building of this country. But there's a lot of dreaming because that education system was developed to be able to serve the colonial master, quote and unquote. It was the West curriculum, you understand? And that's why most of our children, when they get there, they do well because that environment is where the curriculum came from. That means indigenizing our structures. Like you will be surprised, most of the projects that we use, Jumia, Congolese, OP, they are from outside because they studied us. Now, if statistics show that many foreigners are coming to Nigeria to come and cash out on the population, that means we are.
Why can't we translate to?
Now, wait now. Do you know that, of course, like the expatriates and everything, Dangote, you know what happened with Dangote? He had to go and recruit. If Dangote said 2015 that our graduate and unemployment, I'm going somewhere. Now, what are we doing to actually create a curriculum that will be indigenous? That's what we are doing actually as a support to the education system and say, let us support and let the student have entrepreneurship mindset as they study accounting. And know that in the next 10 years, Nigeria will be in deficit of 2 million accountants. So that means you as an accountant don't just abandon the accounting that you have studied for 4 years and go and be doing tailoring alone. Know that there is still a need in the macro economy. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that means the money Bank of Industry want to give, is it that you want to just call the allogers like I told you? So from there, I'm talking about institutional leadership now. So Bank of Industry has the money, he has gotten money from the allocation, they have to give to the market women, but they can't go to the market women doesn't even know where Bank of Industry is. They have to go to another commercial bank. Commercial bank will collect its own. So that 50,000 that you are talking about, 50,000 has even reduced
from the road.
Consultants will collect his own. Even as a loan, you understand? There's going to be a repayment. All those guys will also feed back. So that means we have a lot of bottleneck that we are not addressing from an institutional angle. So
it needs to be dealt with.
Do you understand? So it's not see these guys now. You now hear 200 million, but before consultant is taking a 10% of even that's what happened with our money coming from IMF. The consultants are there. You know, that means we have not inside out look at it and say what will happen in the next 50 years. This roadmap and say, okay, we have 1.8 million Nigerian students now that will be needed in the workforce. Do you understand? So what kind of SME do we want them to focus on? You understand? We want to be building phones. We want to be a company, an economy that will be building our own phones. So we are driving those ones. The accountants are going into that sector and say we are empowering that sector.
So if you look at the SMEs now, because I think we're almost running out of time. What is the way forward with all of these challenges you've identified in very quick succession?
Good. Like I said, the government alone cannot do it. Like I mentioned, the government alone they have a lot of responsibility for regulations, harmonizing tax like NRS is doing and things like that. But again, what I will tell the population is that Nigeria needs you. I think that's a very strong word. Nigeria needs you to actually play your role and be able to contribute where necessary. right? And not be distracted by the plethora of issues. You know, they said we should go be selling akara. Can you be patriotically interested in whatsoever that is going? Because Nigeria is more than any administration.
But Nigeria needs you. Don't we need Nigeria? Because it's like a symbiotic relationship.
I like that. Nigeria needs you in a sense that you are what it is now called Nigeria. Like you are now the people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So many people look at themselves outside and say, let me just get on with it. I don't disappear.
That's what they say. There's nowhere like home. And if you build the capacity,
no. You see, of course, the conversation of migration is necessary. Like
I'm not against anyone migrating. I'm just saying before you look at those options, because of course, before you
have to look inward.
Look inwards. Look at possibilities.
So, exactly.
Like you said, there are bottlenecks. Obviously, for every beautiful thing to blossom,
there are always going to be challenges.
There's always going to be challenges.
Yes, of course.
Because we've seen recent government initiatives on Sweden's zero interest growth fund to free CAC, just like you mentioned, registrations for thousands of SMEs. Are these interventions likely to make a meaningful difference if we keep looking at migration mindsets?
And that's what I'm saying, that so it is somebody that is intentional that we cooperate, that will come together. Like one of us, I made an effort to be part of an organization like the Young CEOs of Abuja Chamber of Commerce now. You understand? We are doing something with agriculture now. Wants young people to come together and connect agriculture with entertainment. You understand? Face of agriculture. We're looking at Christmas, LQ. We are looking at organizations like that. As a indigenous, let us create fintech for ourselves. You know, Kenya is looking up to us. You understand? A lot of countries are looking up to us. Caribbeans are looking up to us. You know, I've met a lot of foreigners that say, Nigeria is the richest country. When I met the Caribbeans, they were here a few months ago. They were literally worshipping us. Like, the president went to St. Kitts and gave the scholarship. Why they now came with bus in the air bus to come and see. They were so excited. Then you guys are sleeping on the road. I had to retain myself that am I living like somebody that Caribbeans are looking up to another countries?
So that's the mindset we need.
Do you understand? We need to organize, connect, be deliberate and intentional in coming together.
We don't see the wealth we have in some cases. You know, it's not across board. Certain things, when you meet with foreigners, just like you mentioned, they always appreciate what we have. If you travel a lot, you also meet people when they tell you, when you say you're from Nigeria, they embrace because they know. And
the reception is always more.
But I think as a nation or as individuals, we start working on our mindsets and also tapping into the wealth we have and building capacity and also ensuring that there's level playing field to all of what we have and not always look at the negative. I think the negative part is what is affecting us more than even the positive side. Yes, it's not easy to navigate through those.
Let me corroborate that. Like somebody said that there are 1,000 reasons why it can go wrong. 1,000 reasons. Okay. But the successful one look at one
reason where it can go right.
Where it can go right. And that is actually the dilemma Nigeria is in right now. It's not about the present administration, but if you know that this is yours, God has given you, you are here for us, then Nigeria needs you. Collaborate, connect, partner, make sure it happens in this generation and the next. Thank you.
Because we make a lot of mistakes. I'm always asking, how do small business owners correct the small mistakes we make that tend to limit us instead of breaking us into, let me call it, the breakthroughs.
Especially like we said, those 5 years that they don't survive. There are some mistakes. So what are those mistakes?
What can we really do to navigate through that?
Okay. So the world is now a global village. You understand? Let's go back to our hairdresser. You know, learn global learn global best practices and incorporate them now. Okay. So when you are doing one person's here, be doing it like you are going to be doing it. Do you understand? I have that all these our entertainers, we've done this entertainment. You understand? We have broken that jinx. We are going to do it in many places. We are doing it in fintech right now. You know, like organizations coming ahead. Fintechs are rising every day because of our population, and we have not even penetrated the grassroots. You understand? So what happened is that that you will do today. Andela started jokingly in Nigeria in Lagos CCO. Masudaba came to Nigeria to come and sit. So you have other access to be able to say what I'm doing is not just for me, it's for the whole world. And when you have that mindset, you are going to go places. So those mistakes, you are going to quickly be able to come over them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We want to say a very big thank you to you, our guests, for breaking this down. We hope that the entrepreneurs will start having a positive mindset and understand that it is the right direction if you build past the 5 years that we see businesses collapse and not stand tall. If you have a global mindset and work with the enabling environments with provisions made available for you each time you come. Thank you so much, Ambassador Victor Adegoke Adetolaju. Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us on the role of SMEs in Nigeria's economic development. We hope to see young minds speak up the best.
Of course. Trust me, we are dedicated. We are the Student Chamber of Commerce to see a generation rise up and be intentional.
Amazing. We look forward to that. Mukhtar.
Well, that conversation for me is a reminder that while small businesses face significant challenges, they also have enormous opportunities for inclusive economic growth with the right policies, access to finance, and of course the willingness to innovation. Nigeria's MSMEs can even be bigger than what we currently have, and they can drive national development.
Very true, Mukhtar. And then, of course, there's been a wonderful discussion here on
Most
Global Morning.
definitely
Very engaging. We've had an amazing time with us here, and we hope that you sitting in front of your screen have also enjoyed the conversation we had so far. We started the program very interestingly from our discussions, the newspaper review segment, where we brought you stories making the rounds across the different papers, and of course we also brought you
Taste and Texture.
Just taste and texture. You were going to try that meal, the plantain that has all the eggs and also the protein that goes with it. And of course we had another conversation around social cohesion, how we can get that stability as a nation, working in unity and ensuring that the best stands for us. This is what we call it the wrap on Global Morning. It feels like we should just stay and
honestly, it looks like the time is never enough when we're having a good time. But of course, we've been once in a while and it's time to go. We just hope you had an amazing time like we did.
Yeah, we did have an amazing time. I am Annie T. Patrick, and of course I'm having it right.
It's a very wonderful, have a great day ahead.
Well, great week ahead of you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.